Now, let's get into it. The topic of discussion of the week. Drake put up a post and he showed the Death Row emblem. Showed the front of it and the back of it. The front of it, of course, the legendary Death Row logo. And on the back, it had All Eyes on You, 1996. Of course, anything Tupac related creates an uproar. It gets the blogs, it gets the algorithm going. Everybody wants to talk about it. People hit me up asking me, in my DMs asking me, the number one question, is it real or is it a fake? Wow. So with Drake arguably being the biggest rap artist of his time and Tupac being the biggest artist of his time as well, it's still one of the most talked about human beings in history. This, of course, creates a lot of discussion. People want to know. It was automatically assumed that Drake brought the chain, but I digress. For one reason, he never said it. I mean, if you go back and look at the post, he didn't say, I just bought Tupac's chain. He's promoting his latest gig in Copenhagen. Great city, by the way, I've been there. He's gonna have a good time. But everybody just assumed that he bought the chain, that it was Tupac's chain, and that has, to my knowledge, not have been confirmed. People are coming out of the woodwork saying whether it's real or fake. I don't know, but I'll give you a little background on the Tupac chain. The last time most people in our inner circle saw the chain is when Tupac gave it to Hussein Fatal in New York, 1996, when they were out there for the MTV Music Awards. Noble told the story. You can go back and look at that interview. I don't want to get into the details of that, but the chain was last seen in Jersey. After that, I personally don't know where the chain went or what happened. I do know towards the end, Pac was wearing his euthanasia chain more than the Death Row chain. That was something custom made. That was something real special to him. And he was wearing that more than he was wearing any other chain in, his collection. So it remains to be seen whether the chain is a real or it's a fake. If you wanted my personal opinion, I think it's a real fake chain. I think it might be a real Death Row chain, but it might not be Tupac's. It may be a great replica. It's really hard to say. I do know Drake got enough money to, if it is a fake, he ain't gonna lose no sleep. It's probably pennies to him what he paid for it. And I do sometimes scratch my head and wonder, because he did buy the ring. He bought the ring reportedly for $1 million, Tupac's ring. And I do wonder what's his fascination or connection to Tupac. Because he famously said on a record, I didn't cry when Tupac died, but I may cry when Hov does. And, that was always a head scratcher.
I never cried when Pac died, but I probably will when Hov does.
But whatever. I didn't know he was a Pac fan or, he's never been super vocal, but of late with the jewelry, Tupac jewelry, rings, and now the Death Row chain, it makes you wonder what it is.
I would honestly say that, if there's anybody I wish I could be a little more like, it would probably be Pac. He just, I think more than anything, aside from his music, which was absolutely incredible, I think he was somebody who genuinely was a free spirit. He did not care, and he just did what he felt. And I wish I could have a little more Pac to my persona I'm working on.
And I know, Pac's music sometimes hit people later. Like Fat Joe recently came out and said Pac has really been speaking to him on a personal level, like speaking to that soul, which Pac can do musically. Very rare that rap artists do that. But, you know, first shout out to Joe. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the shout out on the Jada and Joe show. I enjoy their podcast. Make sure you check that out. They're doing a great job over there. But yeah, you know, Joe is saying of late that message has been speaking to him, and that happens, you know. So maybe that happened to Drake. He wasn't really hip to pop in his youth, but not that he's matured and becoming a man and living an adult life. You know, the music is speaking to him a lot more. Pac's music was definitely, his music was mature for his age. You know, most 20-something-year-olds weren't speaking on the subject matter that he was speaking on in the 90s. And, you know, his perspective and point of view on, you know, relationships with women and, you know, his thoughts on religion and his thoughts on politics is what separated him from the multitude. And so I can see, you know, Pac's music hitting some individuals later in life. You know, some people get it right away. They understand the Tupac Shakur, they get his music. Some people are just fascinated by the bravado and the rah-rah and everything. You know, a lot of people are into that side of Tupac, and then you have people that are very much into the message and the music and the soul that he put into his music. So it's all good, baby. Either way it goes, I love it. You know, all of us here, we've been knew what it was. You know what I'm saying? So salute to all of us here, you know, and we welcome everybody else to the congregation, even if it may be late. Real talks. EDI Mean, talking my truth. That's enough for the day.
And if my tears hold value, then